Hello, y'all. It is Sarah. We are back at Awkward Girlie. We're chatting about something a bit different today, which I think is going to overlap with a lot of other topics that I talk about. I'm talking about consistency, or as some people might refer to it, hustle mode, and the need to forever be hustling and productive.
Uh,
Uh, it is Sarah here at Awkward Girlie. We're going to talk all things
yeah.
self-worth, body
Awkward
image, dating,
girlie.
and relationships. You can catch me on Instagram at Sarah Self-Worth if you like.
Awkward
See what my
girlie.
real world antics are at.
Uh,
Otherwise, pull out a metaphorical chair and let's chat.
yeah.
Okay, so you may or may not be able to tell from my voice that I am just getting over being sick. It's that time of year, middle of the year, right near my birthday, where everyone gets a head cold, and it's been so good. I've had like 10 days off the gym now. Had a couple of days off sick from work. It's not been ideal, but I definitely slowed down. And I wanted to talk about something that I have been hardcore judging myself for, and that is consistency. I actually thought about this topic a few weeks back before I got sick, when I was tracking my ups and downs of my energy levels alongside my cycle. And I realized there's some weeks where I'm just killing it. And there are some weeks where I am struggling to get by at all, like literally struggling to even leave the house. And I wanted to talk about it because I think a lot of us judge ourselves for this, and it's not helpful at all. So let's talk about it. I think consistency, it's a good idea in theory because if you can keep a pace going, you keep momentum, you keep showing up, all those things are important and helpful. But let's be real, we're actually human beings and it's not as easy as it sounds. Being sick, like, it just wasn't going to be productive for me to keep pushing myself to show up when I'm not well. I'm not going to get as good of results. I'm going to probably impede my health getting better. Probably going to take longer to getting back to being at 100%. And I'm just not going to have great output. And it's also just not going to be enjoyable. And when things aren't enjoyable, it shows. So it doesn't make sense to push myself to keep showing up when I'm sick, which begs the question, does it make sense to push yourself to keep showing up when you just don't feel like it? I know I've called myself lazy in the past because I didn't want to do something that I had earlier committed to doing. And I do think there's power in committing to something and then following through on it, even when you don't feel like it. But I think we need to be a bit more honest with ourselves around the ups and downs of how we feel. And I'm going to refer to Gary Vee, probably one of the most productive people on the planet. If you don't know Gary Vee, it's Gary Vaynerchuk. He created VaynerMedia. He's just a lightning bolt of energy. If you don't know who he is, look him up. He's awesome. Very big in content creation world, in the hustle culture, in entrepreneurial world. So yeah, Gary Vee, the goat. Um, and there's something that he mentioned years ago that I've tried to hold on to, haven't implemented perfectly in my life, but a concept worth talking about, which is when you hold on to the praise from other people, in other words, people getting liking your video, accolades, people telling you you're great, then when people don't like your videos, when people comment negatively on your content, you're going to feel it a lot more because you're holding on to what it means when someone else says something about you. If you're holding on to the positive feedback that people give you, then the negative impact that people give you is going to matter to you a lot more. And I want to carry that over to the highs and lows of our energy. When we give ourselves like massive kudos for getting a lot of shit done one day, when we tell ourselves, "Oh, fuck yeah, I am the best because I have been so productive today," then on the other side, we're going to feel like an absolute piece of shit when we don't get much done in a day. And instead, it doesn't actually reflect on who we are as a person, the value that we have as a person, the output that we have in a given day or a week or a month or a year. And that correlates with how much money you're earning, how much content you're putting out. I think when we over index on the positives, we end up making the negatives feel a lot worse. And we're kind of robbing ourselves of the natural cyclical cycle of what it's like to be a human being. When we try and chop off our lows and we say, oh, I'm not going to have a day where I don't do at least 2,000 steps, or oh, I'm not going to have a day where I don't at least do one piece of content. You're chopping off the lows in your cycle, and that kind of takes away from the highs in your cycle. The days that you get heaps done, the days that you put out 20 pieces of content. And we could sit here and say it's better for the algorithm to be consistent with your content. Just fucking schedule your content. It's that important to you and your algorithm. Just schedule it, right? I want to make this bigger than just content, because that example is centered around what Gary Vee's talking about. I want to zoom out a little bit and talk about consistency in your own life. So one that I often talk about is my struggles with my healthy eating and how I'm treating my body and how I'm showing up with movement. If I'm going to judge myself on the days that I don't want to do fuck all, I'm going to start identifying with the personality or with the identity of someone who does fuck all. And then I'm going to do fuck all because I've identified with that. So I guess one call out here is when we judge ourselves for our actions, then we're kind of identifying with those actions as a part of our identity. And that's more likely to cause us to keep going with those actions. So if we're going to beat ourselves up about not getting enough done, we're probably going to get less done. Just the science of it all. I don't fully understand that. I'll be honest. I still struggle with that with my eating. The whole throw the baby out with the bathwater. What do they call it? Like extremist thinking, when you're all or nothing thinking. They talk about that with dieting. That's not something I've fully solved in my health journey. But I do know that when I judge myself for being on the lower end of my energy levels, I end up staying there a bit longer, because I'm caught up in the wall of it, right? So I guess that's one part of it. I also want to call out like how much I have uh, over indexed productivity being put on a pedestal. For a very long time in my life, I defined my worth on how productive I was, on how skinny I was, and how much I got done. And I talk about that a lot in the book that I wrote about dating. And shifting how I felt about myself meant I had to start shifting the things that I valued myself on. What metrics was I using to value my self-worth? And I think we are definitely still overvaluing productivity. And that's why we care so much about being consistent. Consistency is just saying you should show up the same way every day, which just doesn't fucking make sense. Like, I don't have to get into the ups and downs of your cycle if you're a woman, but that's just not how it works. And if we're gonna beat ourselves up on those days that we're down, it's just it's taking away from the days when we're up. And the days that you're up, you shouldn't expect yourself to be there all the time. I have days when I'm completely on fire. It doesn't even make sense how much shit I get done. And if I held myself to that level every day, ugh, I would think I was a terrible person. So yeah, I think we need to let go of the concept of consistency. This is probably a good time to talk about emotional stability. That's something that's pretty new to me. I've had to recognize that sometimes I don't express my emotions, and then that results in me having like a bloody meltdown or a mentee be a few days later. I've often thought of emotional stability coming from chopping off the highs and lows, by not letting yourself get down in dumps. And I've said to my partner, like, sometimes I will squash my emotions and not tell you how I feel because I'm trying to appear emotionally stable. And he kind of laughed because the result then is that a few days later, I'm not emotionally stable and I have a mentee be, but it's way out of my control. It seems to pop up when I least expect it because I have a moment to myself where I actually can let out my emotions. So anyone who's into nervous system regulation, emotional regulation will know that if you're trying to push down your negative emotions, it's like pushing down in the water, like pushing a inflated beach ball down into the water. You push the beach ball down into the water, and then it's just going to fly back up. because it's not meant to be down there. So I see the same thing with consistency. If we're trying to uh, push away those times and we need to have some downtime, then it's just going to come back and hit us in the face. It's not actually helpful. I think a better way to do it is to focus on the things that allow you to be consistent. One thing for me is I will go further down the spiral if I stay without doing some movement. So I might not force myself to go to the gym on a low day, but I will try and get outside for a walk, and I'll make that first step on the ladder as small as I can possibly make it. If it's going for a walk at 6:30 with the ladies, because they meet every day and that's a positive thing for me to show up to, I'll do that. But if I'm really struggling to get up at 10 to 6 to make that, then I might try and go for a walk down the beach in the afternoon with my partner. And if I can't even make it down to the beach because that's a 15-minute drive and I don't have it in me, I'll walk around the block. I'm definitely not taking the new dog because the new dog would push me over the edge. So and trying to do some things that allow you to be consistent rather than trying to be consistent. I don't know if that makes sense. Let me know if that makes sense. Another one is with eating, right? So I know I'm not very consistent with how many calories I'm eating in a day. That's fine. Um, but something that will make me go off the Richter scale way too far in the opposite direction is not eating. If I'm not eating in the morning or just avoiding eating, trying to make up for something I've done the day before, then you best believe that later on that day I'm going off the Richter scale. And it's going to be grabbing the stuff that's not helpful for me. So getting in the habit of eating um, when you don't feel like eating, but just again, make it easy for yourself. So it's not like, oh, you have to eat this kale salad or whatever. It's like eat something that isn't chocolate, and that'll probably stop you from eating chocolate later. Doesn't have to be the most healthy meal, it's just gotta be something, right? So, doing the things that stop you from going off the Richter scale in the negative, is gonna allow you to be more consistent, but you're not forcing yourself to be uber consistent up the positive end of the spectrum. I also think it's worth acknowledging the signs of not being consistent. If you just really cannot force yourself to do a thing that you committed to doing, it's probably because you don't want to do it. And you probably don't want to do it because it doesn't feel good to do. And then if you're signing up to doing stuff consistently, which just means ongoing, if you're signing up to do something ongoing that you don't like doing, maybe that's a sign that we should look at and try and change how we're doing that. Um, Here's a good reference, the book Feel Good Productivity. There we go. That fits perfectly into this. Abdul, I'm not sure if that's his first name or his last name. Sorry if that sounds not PC. Um, but Feel Good Productivity, essentially the concept of the book is make doing the thing fun and make it feel good. And if you make it feel good, you're more likely to do it. So when I was trying to write a chapter of my book once a month, which by the way was not possible, was not consistent. Some months I wrote 2 chapters, some months I wrote 0 chapters. That's totally fine. Progress is not linear. When I was writing that book, I was also reading Feel Good Productivity, and that book talked about how you inject fun stuff into getting shit done. And one thing that I did with writing my book was I used lots of color, so colored Sharpies, colored Post-it notes, and just made the physical act of writing my book more interesting with more color and using my hands more. Because I found writing it all on my iPad was just really getting me out of the vibe of writing a book, which is something I wanted to enjoy doing. I mean, I signed up to do it because I wanted to enjoy it. As soon as we make stuff not enjoyable, of course we're not going to want to do it. So I guess that's my key takeaway is not judge yourself for being inconsistent. Focus on doing the things that allow you to be consistent rather than try to make yourself be consistent. And then if you're not enjoying it, take that as a sign that you should switch it up, make it enjoyable again, because that's the whole point of life, right? Anyway, let me know what you think about this. Maybe I'm whack. Maybe you agree that consistency is overrated. I think it's very linked with productivity. Let me know what you think. Cheers.